morning, the most news in the morning, period. Weekdays 6 Eastern.
What we do at pollster.com, which is a little bit different, is that we look at all the polls, but only polls. We're not looking at past results. We're not making subjective judgments about where we think things ought to be. We're taking all the polls, essentially mashing them up, coming up with a trend estimate, and using a formula based on our confidence in the lead, assigning each state either to McCain, Obama, or to the toss-up category.
Well, let me just play along here on our electoral map. We have Florida and Colorado as toss-up states. You put those both in the Lean Obama category, and that's the way you come up with the 313 electoral votes. But if I'm not wrong, I mean, even looking at your website, looking at other websites, aren't those states still within about 5 points? How do you put those in the lean category?
That's exactly right. If you look at, Florida's a great example. If you look at the last CNN time poll, I think you had a 5-point lead for Obama. Well, in the last, since October 1st, there have been 11 surveys released in Florida. 10 of them have had Obama with a lead of at least a point. Our trend estimate's 5.5, which is about the same margin as the CNN poll. But because we're looking at so many surveys, we've got confidence that that margin is statistically meaningful. Right. So we're calling it a lean.
Okay, I don't want to get too deep in the statistical weeds here. I want people at home to be able to follow along. A couple of other interesting things that you've got going on, though, is that we've got North Dakota in the lean McCain category. It was solidly McCain, but you put that in the toss-up category. You also have Indiana in the toss-up category, just as I changed these on our map here. And we have Virginia lean Obama, but you leave that in the toss-up category. And you also add West Virginia in the toss-up. So that would give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 toss-up states, and making that road, that already difficult road for John McCain, even more difficult than it was before.
Well, there's some of the states, North Dakota is one that sort of gives us a little bit of heartburn, where in Florida there's something like 20 polls since September 20th. In North Dakota there are 2, both out this week, both showing essentially a deadlock contest, and that's moved because we're not making a judgment call. We're going only on the polls we have. That makes North Dakota look pretty close. Yeah. Now,
McCain advisors insist that support for Barack Obama in these leaning states is soft. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I think it's soft enough. I think the key point here is we're not making a prediction about what polls are going to show next week or on November 3rd, the night before the election. We're trying to characterize what they're showing right now. And what they're showing right now, if the election were held right now, we think Obama would win. But that could change next week.
Let's also take a look, and we looked at this just a second ago. It just changed to our election map here. And travel for John McCain, he's in South Florida today. He's in Miami. He's also going to Melbourne, Florida. Sarah Palin is in Ohio. She's going to be in Indiana. She's also going to Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Barack Obama is in Roanoke today. So far, we see John McCain, his travel plans. He's also going to North Carolina on Saturday. His travel plans take him to red states, so he's defending there. If he wants to try to make up that difference with Senator Obama, and again, you've got Senator Obama with 313 electoral votes, does he not need to go into places like Maine and New Hampshire and Wisconsin and Minnesota and New Mexico and places like that to try to pull back some of that advantage that Barack Obama has?
Well, unfortunately, I think for him, he's got to do both. There's no scenario, there's no victory scenario for the McCain campaign that doesn't include Florida. So as long as they're behind, they're going to have to pull that back. But I agree with you that it's states like Virginia and Colorado and New Hampshire that are really kind of on the bubble. If the flood recedes, if you will, those are the states that'll decide the outcome of the election.
We talk about, the 1982 election for governor in California when Tom Bradley was running, and we talk about the Bradley effect where he went into the polls leading and he came out losing. Are you picking up any of that in your analysis of the polling, that perhaps Senator Obama is polling more strongly than he may actually make out on Election Day?
I think that's exactly the right question that we should be asking. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about the Bradley effect and debate about whether patterns that we did see 20 years ago and we haven't seen, where polls were wrong in races featuring a black candidate and a white candidate. We haven't seen that pattern in the last 10 years, whether that's happening now. And I think the key is to look at the evidence we have from the surveys we have now, to look real hard at the undecideds and see if there's a hidden McCain vote there, to look at whether the race or the vocal characteristics of the interviewer matters. Not seeing that evidence yet. I think that the jury's still out. We're going to keep looking at it closely.
All right.
But as of yet, I don't see that.
Everybody is analyzing those polls and the electoral votes. Again, just to reiterate, pollster.com has Barack Obama with 313 electoral votes to John McCain's 155. The CNN predictions at this point, 277 for Barack Obama, 174 for John McCain.